Well, that's woken us all up, hasn't it?
Oh, I love a bit of Celine at 10 to 9.
That's what we should do that every morning. So it's Glasgow v Liverpool. Our media and arts correspondent, David Tillotto, is here. Morning.
You're not saying anything, are you?
I'm just waiting for you to ask a question.
Yeah, OK, well, who's it going to be?
Oh, there's a big one. OK, from the very,
I'm waiting for an answer,
beginning, there are people who take Eurovision very, very seriously, and I give them a call and I say, from the very beginning, when there were 17, well, you know, there were 20 cities to start off with, and they said, well, definitely Glasgow, definitely Liverpool,
yes,
and then the others. And I said, oh, OK, that's interesting. And the fact that it's reached that stage at the end, a lot of people looked at it. And the interesting thing is how similar they are.
Yes.
So, first of all, both of them are UNESCO cities of music. Both of them are former European capitals of culture.
Yep.
Both of them have arenas with conference centres next door on historic waterfronts that have been transformed. One is the Mersey, one is the Clyde. And the big question is, what is the difference? And all of that is practicalities. Now, if you look, say, for instance, at Andy Street, the Mayor for West Midlands, he tweeted yesterday that Birmingham hadn't made it to the final shortlist because of a question over the height of their arena. So you realise these are very specific questions going on there. And also, the big issue is they're a little bit behind schedule. Not dramatically so, because Turin was only announced in October. So, I mean, it'll be a few weeks after that. But then you really have to get a move on. And speaking to the people in Liverpool, they were being asked, oh, can we get access to the site in November? And you realise that
soon. Yeah.
There is so much to organise. And if you've ever been to Eurovision and watched it, and you realise how quickly one act is replaced by the next act on stage and how big those shows are, and you think it's the most amazing engineering showbiz spectacular, and to put that on fresh with you know, there is a team that travels around to Eurovision. They know what they're doing, but there's a lot to be done. So it will be practical issues of getting into venues, exactly how quickly can you get your trucks in and out. And for instance, there was an interesting question about I was chatting to them in Liverpool, and they were asked, what happens if you're too popular? Because Liverpool, massive party city, if the crowds come and it's all in one place, because you look at the waterfront down by the Royal Albert Dock round there. I remember I lived in Liverpool back in the 1980s, and Pier Head was a bus station. It was not a place you went to visit. Now filled with tourists, and it's a place you just go, oh, I could see a party here. Will there be too many? Will they be able to control it? So all of these are questions that will be asked over the next few weeks. So it will be practicalities rather than emotion that I think will determine these things.
And whoever wins, Ukraine are going to be at the heart of this, I would imagine.
This is not a British UK Eurovision. This is the Ukraine's Eurovision that just happens to be taking place in the UK on behalf of Ukraine. And you will have to, in some way, demonstrate you're doing this for Ukraine. So both countries have their links with Ukraine. Liverpool, for instance, Twin City, Odessa. I was talking to the Prime Orchestra from Kharkiv, who said, oh, I quite like Liverpool because I've heard of Liverpool. It's got a strong music heritage. But it will be what each city can do to make it look as though this is a Ukrainian Eurovision that happens to be taking place in the UK. But, you know, the practical issues, I think, will be very high on people's minds because, my goodness, it's a massive and very complicated thing to organise.
So the next month, until they come up with a final decision, there'll be people going around with clipboards measuring the heights of the venues and whatever else, and accommodation space and stuff.
There will be spreadsheets. There will be spreadsheets going through it in serious detail.
Is there political kind of campaigning going on? Is there lobbying, or is it too late for that?
I think you've reached a stage now where the lobbying has happened, and it's down to the people with the, well, I was going to say slide rules. I'm kind of putting myself, aging myself a little there. The people, you know, with the computers going through, do they meet all the criteria? Can we get this done in time? Will it be a success? And, you know, it's getting people in and out. But one thing that really struck me, when the first shortlist was announced, I looked at all 7 cities, and I thought to myself, I couldn't imagine 40 years ago 7 of these cities being able to put on an event the size of Eurovision. And then I look now and I go, I can imagine it in almost all of these cities, the transformation that's taking place. And you go to Glasgow and you go to Liverpool, and I stared at the hundreds and hundreds of visitors there, and the hotels that had sprung up there, and the atmosphere. And I thought, well, this is a real reflection of how much, especially our northern cities, have changed over the last few years.
Let's talk about the really important stuff, though, David.
Oh, you're
the
worried me now.
music. What's our entry going to look like, do you think?
I have not a clue.
Great.
Now, this is a process that is deep within secrecy. The biggest problem is that they had such a success with Sam Ryder last year. And
would we want to win again? A second.
You want to do well. You want to do well. You
Would you want to host
You
it
do
a
not
second
want
year
to
in a
go
row?
back to where we were a few
No.
years ago. That's definite. And also, it is also a reflection of a change. I mean, seeing how Sam Ryder appears on big stages now and is, you know, commands the audience.
brilliant.
Absolutely incredible. It was the death of people's careers in previous years. He's just gone from strength to strength. And also, he brought such joy and such enthusiasm to the whole thing. You're going to have to find somebody not like him, but somebody who
With that
can
energy.
capture something of the Eurovision spirit, because it is joyous. And what always amazes me is when you go to these cities, there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are in the city and they don't have tickets. They're just going there for the atmosphere. They will go to bars, they'll be going to hang out, they'll be meeting their friends. It's just a week-long party. And, well, Glasgow, Liverpool, they're both perfect for it.
Already people booking this hotel rooms in both, aren't there? David,
Oh, yes.
Thank you very much indeed. You're watching BBC Breakfast. It's 8:59.